So there are some times when you cannot take a can of beer or an adult beverage onto certain properties or venues. So you have to come up with some creative ways of being able to disguise your adult beverage. So what I want to do is review two different methods on how to conceal your adult beverage. One is by using these aluminum can sleeves that used to be available on Amazon, but no longer can you find them. The other one I recently used as an alternative are these silicone based sleeves. Now, as you can see, there are two different type of ways of doing it. And one is, has its values. I mean, you have your silicone version sleeve where if you press on it, it doesn't bend or crack or even remain its shape. Versus the aluminum one, where you have to really be careful so not to dent the actual aluminum can itself. Okay. So what I thought I would do is show you the two differences between the aluminum sleeve versus the silicone sleeve. Okay. If I start with the aluminum sleeve, it's very simple just to basically place it over your beer. Now, as you can see, the design is tapered. Oops. So you can see here the design is tapered to allow for, I guess, the most realistic appearance with the beer. Okay, and it cuts off towards the bottom. If you rotate the sleeve itself, it actually looks like a Pepsi can. Now, here's one of the drawbacks with the aluminum sleeve is that there is a tiny gap, as you can see here, which, if you're looking close enough, you can see that this is not an actual Pepsi can. Okay? But the idea being is that the way that you would position this is that you would be drinking it, and your hand would be covering the back. Okay, and as you can see, the top. Okay? Now, removal is very simple. You just take it and you remove it just as such. Okay, and you store it in this manner, just to keep its shape. Okay, and one of the benefits of this is that you can actually store multiple cans in the same without using a lot of space. Okay, now let's look at the silicone. Okay, now the silicone one, the installation is pretty simple. In fact, it's as simple as the aluminum. However, what you'll notice is that the colors seem to be a little bit more bright and more artificial than the actual Pepsi itself or actual can itself. Okay, and in this particular model, it came with Coca-Cola, Dr. Pepper, Mountain Dew, and all the colors seem to be very, very bright. All right. Now, one of the things that you'll notice is that there is some give. Okay? Whereas on the aluminum can, it was snug and tight to the can. This one is a little bit more loose. Okay? Now, there is some tapering at the top, but it's not as snug and tight as the aluminum can. So, rubber meets the road, no pun intended. When you look at the silicone, you'll notice that instead of that nice, tight, snug, you've got now an artificial gap, right? As you can see here, right? So the idea being is that still you would hold it um, where you're drinking it towards the end, right? And your hand would be covering it. But when it's just placed on the table, or when it's just placed on let's say a stand, you're someone who has prying eyes is going to notice this little flap here, thus refuting the whole purpose of trying to disguise your adult beverage. Okay. Now, one of the caveats to this is the actual removal of the silicone sleeve. Okay, and you basically have to crush the can a little bit in order to pull it off. Okay. Now, depending on I guess if you're drinking it from an empty can or a full can, but certainly, I mean, they both have their strengths and weaknesses. But in my opinion, I prefer the aluminum can version, despite its, I guess, delicacy versus the silicone one, which I think over time will probably last better. But one of the concerns that I have is this part here ripping in the future. Okay? So I'm gonna grade these silicone sleeves and give it a basically a C in regards to its efficacy and I guess the quality. Um, that's it, guys. Let me know if you have any questions. Talk to you soon.